short bit there. And start it.
All right, guys, great. Man, a lot of great people in the room. So I'm really excited to introduce Tony, Super Bowl champion, former NFL offensive tackle, and the University of Texas stand-at, who spent nearly a decade competing at the highest level. His journey began in, is it A-Leaf?
A-Leaf.
A-Leaf.
Yeah.
Where he was an all-state tight end before a serious college injury forced him to reinvent himself as an offensive tackle. He went on to win the national championship at Texas, built a 10-year NFL career, earning a Super Bowl title along the way. But honestly, I think in reading about you and listening to some podcasts, I think what makes you really special is honestly what came after football. Through the years of constant adaptation and pressure, he developed a deep understanding of mindset, discipline, and resilience. And ultimately, that purpose isn't found in titles, but in the identity and habits that shape who you become. Today, Tony's an entrepreneur, leadership speaker, and advocate for financial literacy, helping others build clarity, discipline, and purpose in their lives. So please welcome and joining and welcoming Tony Hayes.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's always weird hearing accomplishments when you're the person that is listening to what you've done. I feel strange. It's crazy.
So Tony, obviously everyone here here's the resume, right? Texas, yeah. NFL, Super Bowl. But what do people misunderstand about your journey when they just look at it from the outside?
That life is about perspective. I think that, I've done a lot of perceived to be great things, but the greatest thing that I've ever done was align my identity with the Creator and understanding what my purpose is on this planet. I think so many people struggle a lot of times in life because they haven't quite identified who they are, and who they serve. And so for me, although God gave me a talent, it was really just a platform to be able to share his message with the individuals that he's aligned me to serve.
That's great. What would you say in achieving all that I just highlighted was kind of harder than people would think on the outside? Like what was the...
I think the hardest thing is funny because the hardest thing that happened to me was me being paralyzed. So when you talk about the injury, you think about a kid, I'm the number one tight end in the state of Texas, right? I beat you, buddy. I was the number. I didn't play it in the league though. I ate my way out of it, so you win there. But I was the top 5 player in the country. I had over 70, 80 scholarships. My brother tells a story. He's actually Jeremy Hills. He's actually the owner of a gym in Austin called The Collective. I don't know if you heard of it, but he tells a story about how he used to get mad because my mom used to make him go check the mail. And he have to come back with a bag of letters that were not for him. So he's imagine a 7-year-old kid hugging a bag of letters up for his older brother, who at that time he doesn't like that much because he never lets him hang out. So that sets the narrative or the stage for the perceived value that was upon me. But then you get hurt in a playoff game, and you hear a doctor say, "Son, I'm sorry to tell you that you're not going to walk normally again, much less alone play ball. You have developed a drop foot and you're going to be paralyzed for the rest of your life." So in that particular space, as a 17, 18-year-old kid, you got 2 options, which at that point, my mom walked in the room and said, "You have 2 choices. You're either going to believe what the world just told you in this man, or you're going to believe what God said in this word. But we're not walking out of here until you decide which way we're going." Right? So I told her that I'm going to believe God. The reality is that at 18, I was just scared of my mama. But I understood what she was doing. And so in that regard, to land the plane on that question, being in that dark space, having letters and scholarships taken away from you and everybody thinking that your career is done, that can put a lot of pressure on somebody.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that in your darkest moments, those moments allow you to define who you truly are. When you strip away the titles, you strip away the success, you strip away, the fan base and everybody clamoring to tell you how great you are. Now you have to just sit there with you and God and decide, okay, who am I going to be now?
Yeah. And what did recovery actually look like?
Oh man, it was tough, man. So we don't come from money, so we were on basically government assistance when it came to the medical side, and so none of the doctors would do the surgery. But there was these two men, Dr. Bruce Mosley and Dr. Raul Nath, who basically said, "Hey, I don't know why God has put this on my heart. They're both believers, but we're going to do the surgery anyway. Don't worry about the money." That was an alignment thing. And so the first surgery, we go in, they do it, nothing happens. The second surgery, they go in and they do it, and I regain my feeling back. And from that moment, I start the comeback of being an athlete all over again.
Wow. When you transitioned from, when you first joined the league,
Yeah.
What struck you as, were you surprised at the level of transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is the confidence of, do you belong here, right? Obviously, when it comes to the talent base, it's immaculate. Like, you're playing some of the best that have ever done it. You got guys that I got drafted, fortunately, to the oldest team in football. So, you have some guys, you go to a team and your veterans like 3, 4, or 5 years in the league. My guys were 15 years in the league. They got grandkids. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, man, I love to learn from you. Hang out, bro. I got to go pick my granddaughter up from, kindergarten. I'm not hanging out with you, young kid. It's like those things. So I was very intrigued by not only the speed, but the knowledge of the game. Right? Just understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And for me, I'm somebody that likes to learn the nuances, the minute details. And so that was one of the biggest things that I saw, is like, sometimes it's not just the best players, it's the ones that are the most consistent. Like, you see guys that make millions of dollars and then they're out of the league. And then you see some guys that are drafted 6th round, Tom Brady, right? And they last 20 years. So it's just, you never really know.
So I guess, would you say there is something you can imagine as saying separates the guys that are able to stick in the NFL from the ones who don't?
Yeah, focus. Yeah, it's a clarity, man. Like, why you're there. You can get caught up in the lifestyle very fast. Listen, as an athlete, you've been told you're the greatest thing since sliced bread since you was a child, and not just from your mama, right? So, like, if you're not careful, I think it was Ryan Daly or Ryan Day, I think his name, he wrote a book called Ego is the Enemy. If you're not careful, you'll allow that ego and that pride to lift you up. And as the good book says, first comes pride and then destruction. And for me personally, that's what I've seen. I've seen guys where they come in one way and they're just, I just want to get in here and I want to make a name for myself. And they start on that trajectory. And then once that name starts to formulate and the lights start to get brighter, they crumble under the lights because they start to believe their own hype. They start to attach their identity to this thing as opposed to attaching their identity to something that can't be taken away from. And they fail. And then you see other guys that it was never about the lights. It was never about the money. It was about the pure love of the game. It was about challenging myself every single day. Can I be better than I was the day before? It wasn't even about my opponent. My opponents were nameless gray faces. It was me versus me, and they went about their business like that every single day. And those were the ones that had the success.
Do you feel like there was any moment in time where in this category you lost your way?
Absolutely. And I can tell you exactly when. It was 2013. My ex-wife at the time, our father had passed away, and I was on teams. I had a contract and everything, and then the contract was done. And a lot of that was because I started feeling my own hype. So I'm talking from experience. I'm talking about myself. I'm playing now. I've started a couple of games. My name is on different things. I'm starting to feel myself. And I just feel like God had to remove me from the situation for an entire year so that I could see, hey, I didn't put you here for you to represent yourself. I put you here for you to represent me. And you're moving in a direction that isn't in alignment with where I have for you. And so I sat out for an entire year. So now, being Tony the football guy, being Tony the NFL player, the calls stop. Nobody's, checking on you, saying, hey man, I'm just checking in, or you need anything, all that. None of that. It's just me. And so I told God, I said, if you give me another chance, I will make sure that I represent you the right way. So in 2014, that's when I get back on the team. Mark calls me up. He says, hey, you're going to Miami. I was like, all right, cool. And then he calls me up again after cut day and said, you're going to Dallas. We just got you contracted over there. And then from there, it took off. I had another 5 years in the league.
Did that 2013 give you a preview though into what happens when eventually?
It was the best thing. It was the best thing, Jeff, that could have ever happened to me. It was the best thing that could ever happen to me, because what I saw what could be, right? And I see what happens to a lot of athletes when they don't know what's next, like what to do when it's done, right? For me, I started putting things in place. I started going to different events. I started networking, learning about different industries and businesses. I was bugging Mark all the time, like, hey man, what you think about this? And all those type of things. So it gave me insight into what life looks like when the game is no longer there. And most guys don't have that until it's too late.
I guess kind of a follow-up point. So I don't think I've ever spoken to a Super Bowl champ, and to kind of ask the question, how did it meet expectations of what you would have thought you were going to win, and then how did it not?
So I had two experiences. The first experience was being able to be a part of the ride of winning that championship. The second experience was in 2010 of being a contributor to the team and losing the championship. And so what I realized is, when you're in sport, especially, I'll just speak to my sport, football, the number one thing is you want to be a champion, right? And then you get into this space, you become a champion, you have all of these things happening, parades and everything like that. And then there's just a moment of silence. And it still comes back to, okay, yeah, man, we won the Super Bowl, but what's next? Like I don't know, have any of you guys ever gotten to the mountaintop of whatever it is that you're wanting to accomplish, and then you were like, this is not what I expected? A lot of that, I believe, is because when you got there, that was the only thing that you were focused on, but you weren't focused on helping other people get there with you, right?
Yeah.
And so I learned that, like it's cool to be a champion, but the reason why being a champion was so special is because when I turned to my left and I turned to my right, I had guys that were champions with me. Right.
Did you have how many different NFL teams did you play?
I was on 9 different teams. Yeah.
So I imagine very different experiences.
Journeyman, man. You have to have an immense amount of confidence in yourself, right? When you're hearing coaches say, oh, this might be your last ride or this or that. And at the end of the day, I knew that I had value. And I wasn't going to allow somebody to put a value on me that I knew that I had. Like, you don't get to tell me that this is over. You're not God, bro. And I had a coach tell me that. And no fault to him. Maybe that's been his experience, that's what he's seen. But you don't know me. You don't know what my journey entails. And so when I was released from that team, I was picked up by a rival team, and we ended up playing the team that I was released from, and I ended up starting that game. So I was highly and extremely motivated to do my best.
Yeah.
There were some less than kind words that were shared after the game, but what it showed me is that whenever you have a vision or you have an objective, like adversity is just an object that you're either going to go around or go through.
Who are the core people in your life? So like, you're about to start a season, entering that new locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the core people that got your mind right?
My mom, and of course, there's other people around the way, but my mom is a very strong and wise woman. She's 70 years old and she's at her high school weight. So that just goes to show you how she takes fitness, but she's like that with everything. But the biggest thing that I appreciate about her is she taught me something at an early age. She said something to me when I was like 5 or 6 years old because I didn't want to play the sport anymore. I didn't like it. It was soccer. I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. All they do is run. They always get mad if I push them. Like they're soft. I don't like this sport. And she was like, well, that's too bad because I asked you and you said that you wanted to play. So you're going to finish out the season. And I was like, I'm not. I'm going to quit. She said, then you're going to be a loser. My mama called me a loser at 5 years old. She said, Tony, the only way you ever lose in life is if you quit. And I literally have carried that lesson with me for 30-something years.
Yeah.
Right?
So when football ended, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you had an understanding of like, I need to prepare for what comes after before it ended.
Yeah.
I'm sure it still was like really hard to kind of have that identity loss.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like a death. There is a psychological study that I've been locked in on. It's called the athlete identity foreclosure. And what it is it deals with athletes who at a young age have not been able to explore themselves outside of their sport. So they've already locked in and identified themselves as this sport, so much so that when the sport is taken away from them, it feels like they've died. Right. And so a lot of times when you see these athletes that are doing these outlandish things, that when they retire and you can't understand why, the first thing is saying, oh, CTE. No, it may be, but it could also be for the fact that I don't know who I am anymore. And so now, because I don't know who I am and I don't have clarity, I've gone from having structure in my life to knowing what I'm supposed to do, to knowing how I'm supposed to do it, to being the same way every single time for, however many years, to now that just being cut off. What do I do now? Right? And so for me, in 2013, the reason why I said that was the best thing that could have ever happened is because I knew even when I got back in 14, at some point this was going to end. Right? And so that I was able to have the opportunity to say, we need to start preparing afterward. Most of these athletes don't get that. And for me, the other part of that too, that's not in that story is that when I retired, I remember I called Mark. I said, bro, I think I'm done. And he was like, are you sure? Because he had just got me to Detroit, signing bonus and everything. I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. And so I went up there and then I told him appreciate that time and I walked away. Me being able to determine that I'm done makes me a lot different than a lot of athletes because the game told them that they were done. That's a different mentality. I said, okay, I've done everything that I needed to do here and I got to walk away. I'm not one of the guys that said the game said you can't do it anymore or your body didn't hold up, right? That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I remember listening to you saying that, talk about putting your money where your mouth is, right? Having the clarity of understanding your purpose such that it's like $3-4 million you walked away from, right?
Yeah, it was, was it like 3 mil, Mark? 3-4 mil? Yeah.
So it's
sorry, Mark.
But did you directly transition straight into the next thing?
No, there was a discovery. Man, listen, I was sitting at home. First of all, when I retired, the very first day, my alarm wasn't set. So I woke up, I was like, God dang, they about to take this money out of my pocket, bro. Like, I'm late. And my wife at the time was like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, I'm late. I'm late for the meeting. It was Wednesday. She's like, babe, you're retired. I was like, oh, I am retired. Well, dang, what am I supposed to do? All right, so I start bothering her, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing today? Oh, she's like, oh, no, probably why we're not together now, right? but I was like, I didn't know what to do. And so she was like, you got to do something because this is not going to work. You know what I mean? Like, I love you, but I'm used to my time during the season. So I went to, she had my ex-brother-in-law at the time was like, man, why don't you come work with us at Xfinity? I was like, what does Xfinity do? I was like, we do door-to-door sales. I said, let me get this straight. You want me to get out of a car and knock on random strangers' door to sell them cable? It's like, basically. I said, bro, he said, last month I made $15,000. I said, when do I start, bro? Well, like, give me the game, So I did that. Didn't like that. I lasted 90 days with that. Like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. I then went over to on phone sales. That was pretty cool for a while, but I was just finding my way. And then in 2017, 2018, I was like, I got to move. And so I convinced my wife at the time to sell the home that she loved and to move to Dallas. And that's when I started meeting individuals in the wealth management space. And that's how I jumped in. My first partner was Marshall Falk. He's with the company called WFG, which was a multi-level marketing insurance company. But I saw how he was doing things and I was like, this is something that I can do. And so from there, it merged over into me having my own company and partnered up with different financial advisors and tax specialists. And now we're helping athletes as a risk management architect. So all of that craziness led me to this path.
I think what is purpose right now? I mean, for you, and maybe a little about how you got to that recognition and realization.
Yeah. Purpose is found. I believe purpose is found at the intersection of your God-given talent and the people that you're called to serve. Right. And so right where the intersect of that meets is where you find your purpose. Right. It's the perfect alignment. Like whether you are a believer in the Bible or not, the Bible is a book of principles. It's actually not a book about religion. I know a lot of people have seen it that way. But if you go and you read it and you study it, it's a principle-based book. And what I've come to realize is that I've tested a lot of those principles and they haven't steered me wrong yet. I'm still waiting to see if I can find God in a lie. I haven't found him yet, right? But when I understood that, okay, this is where purpose is found, now the other aspect of that is what tool am I going to use to serve the individuals that God has placed me to serve? So for me, my purpose is found in that. And my purpose is being able to help these young men, not just on the financial side, Jeff, to make better decisions as young men. Like we're living in a time right now, and in my opinion, this is my thought process, to where men and masculinity and responsibility is being eradicated. Don't say this could hurt somebody's feelings. Oh, don't be like that. That's going to make you look a certain way. And for me, I could care less how I look to people that I don't know. Is it right? Is it true? Is it necessary? If so, we do it. Is it aligned with your values? Yes. Okay. Hey, man, you said you wanted to be with this young lady. You're not showing the type of person that wants to be just with this young lady. We need to speak about that. We got to take advantage. We got to take, responsibility in this space. Hey, man, you said you wanted to be a certain way when it came to this game, but you're moving in the opposite direction of where you say your values are. Like, I'm going to hold you accountable. I've lost clients because of that. I don't care. Then you're not my person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If I'm a circle, I'm looking for more circles. If you're a triangle and we don't work, great. Go find your triangles. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm very passionate about helping these young men to develop because one, I had that in my life from coaches and from other players that took their time to kind of mold me. And I know the importance of having that leadership, that masculine leadership.
You're talking about the collegiate sport level. How much are you viewing this injection of NIL money as being something that is just terribly distracting? You can see the positives and negatives, but it's got to be really distracting for some.
Did you see that deep breath that I just took when you asked me that question? You're talking about a distraction. This is the thing. It's only a distraction to the distracted. Because a lot of the clients that we have, they're locked in and they have a particular goal. One of our guys, he actually bought some real estate with his money. He's made a couple of investments, and he's actually on par to getting drafted this weekend. And the conversations that he and I have had has been, hey, I don't want to talk about the 20-year-old Devin. I want to talk about the 32-year-old Devin. What does that look like, right? What's happening in the NIL space is you have a lot of kids that come from less than ideal backgrounds. And they're getting a lot of this money up front, 1099, by the way. So, some of these college kids are making more money than the guys in the NFL. As you know, NFL is W-2 salary employee, right? So they're getting this money up front, and they're not understanding that this is seed money, man. This is not the harvest. And the thing is it's not just the athlete. The athlete is a 19, 17, 18, 19-year-old kid. It's the parents. It's that AAU uncle, right? It's all of the individuals that's around him that are supposed to be helping and protecting him, that are looking at him as the lottery ticket. And so you see that at the next level, but at the next level, that you're 22, 23, 24, you got an agent that's really there for you, that can, the good ones, like the ones I had, that can talk to you and let you know, hey man, these are the moves you need to start thinking about. Here's what you need to make. If you do that, this is what happens. They're like a guide for you. That's not happening at that level, because a lot of the agents, I don't know if people know this, but a lot of the agents at the NIL level, they don't even have to, they're not even certified agents, right? So if I'm 18 and 19, I was talking to somebody here earlier, I was like, at 30, 40, 50 years old, if you're sitting on $30 million and your mom asks you for $1 million, you gonna tell her no? Well, what do you think you're gonna do as an 18-year-old kid who feels they owe mama everything, right? And not looking at the long-term picture to say, hey, let me just use this money to get mom and brother and sister into a better situation, right? But not to the point to where I blow everything. And then let me find somebody that I can trust that can help me grow this thing in the right direction, right?
So in that scenario, who is saying no to mom? Is it the financial advisor? Is he trained up in a way to kind of speak about it? Like, how mechanically do you do that when you have just everyone coming out of the woodwork?
To be honest with you, for the clients that we have, they come from backgrounds to where the parents are like, this is their money, so I'm good. I don't need anything. And now the kid is like, well, I want to do something. So we look at it, it's by case basis. I'll give you an example. Say you got a kid and he's coming from a place to where mom lives in South Dallas, not the greatest area, right? But he's getting ready to make $2.5 million. Okay, where does mom work? Is there a way for us to transition that job to a different place? Or if she has to stay in South Dallas, what is the nicer area of South Dallas to where we can take this and manage this income flow to where now we're able to add in an extra $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So the money that mom has, she can start using that to invest in doing better for herself. But you've been able to place her in a better area, brother and sister in a better area. Now we can leverage that money to do that while we're positioning your money to do other things and grow, as well as mom. Hey, maybe mom wants to be a financial advisor. Maybe she wants to say, hey, I want to learn this thing. I want to learn about money. Hey, maybe mom wants to understand about marketing or branding. She has the time to do that because she's not struggling anymore, because you've been able to help guide her a little bit with the income that you have. But you haven't blown it to the point to where you putting her in North Dallas and Prosper for a house that costs $700,000, bro, and you're getting ready. You don't even know what next year is going to hold for you. So it's like, it's strategy that has to be used.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, makes sense. So we're kind of coming up on time, but
Yeah.
I want to know kind of what is the most important thing to you right now in this season of your life, right? We all go through phases and chapters. You got three, how many kids? 3?
9. No, I'm serious.
Oh.
Yeah. See, he laughed at that. I'm serious.
Wasn't in my research, man.
No. So we're a blended family. So my wife now, she had 3 kids prior to us having our youngest now, but I had 5 kids from my previous marriage.
Okay.
Yeah. So my children, my wife, my children, my family, that is my top priority. One of the things that I made a mistake in is, and I can be open and candid, is with my first marriage is I tapped into that athlete space to where I'm going all in to make this work. And I lost my way as it pertains to being a husband. And subsequently, I lost that marriage because of that. So not repeating the same mistake, family is everything. Because what's the point of making all of this money and getting to the top if you don't have anybody to be able to share it with or to build with? So my wife currently, Tashira, she's actually integrated as the operations specialist in the business. So she can't say nothing to me about spending time.
Tony, man, so glad you were able to join us today, man.
Appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, 2 minutes. Anyone have a question they want to ask? Covered a lot.
Tony, I don't have a question. It's just more, I don't know how everybody feels, but I like the parallel. Non-athlete, I'm an amateur, kind of amateur level, sports, whatever, good basketball player, amateur level. But you guys from the business side, it's very similar. Like when you leave your business or your job, it doesn't love you back. Same with the sport. And I think to me, when I was sitting listening to you, I think this is really what athletes touch is for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of this blending, if you will. Like your level of success. I'm going to use Brett, he's one of my best friends. When I left Tony and got the company I was at, you guys are so wired differently. In my mind, I was wired pretty well as, business and whatever, but I was a mental issue when I left. I felt like my identity was gone, very similar to what you guys went through.
Yeah.
But I noticed you athletes have such a different mindset. And it's just a really cool thing of just that blend where you can give advice to the business side and vice versa. But he was a huge part. And when you were talking, I just kept thinking of Brett the entire time.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. Don't be a victim. Circumstantially, you may think like you're here, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
But I like you because of who you were. You don't have to prove anything. Let's just hit the ground zero. What do you want to be?
Yeah.
Like, what is your purpose? And I love your analogy of your purpose, your talents to the people you're around. I think that's so smart. But I just love I just took away, it's just a really cool thing to blend sports and business and everyone together. It's really cool parallel. You did a really good job.
Man, I appreciate that, Ken. I appreciate that. Brett, let me ask you a question, man. 5 years in the league. Like when you knew that the time was up, were you prepared for that moment? What did that look like for you?
So kind of similar to how you had that injury in high school, I had an ACL my junior year in college.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have those moments and, the best thing that anyone's ever seen in all these sports, you go to school where everybody's the best and you're so good, all that same stuff, and then you get hurt and you're just laying on the damn training room table and you're like, man, you have to start, everybody reflects on injuries, like, you have to start thinking about that after the ACL is pretty serious. I started thinking about it at that point. And then it happened again in the NFL later. We got ACL or something. That happened again. And so then you kind of get around. Everybody, get a little big for it. Just not forget, like in high school, like I was feeling pretty cool. They're right now, almost back. You feel like there's a cool thing. My dad started saying something. I'm like, Dad, whatever. I'm tired. Let's just wrestle or something.
Yeah.
He's like, such a big call there. He pitched it first and just fall. I'm like, all right.
Yep.
Like our aggressive way. You guys know what I mean?
Correct.
I got my perspective there. The injuries are really what did it.
Yeah.
Like it's like that for football. I mean, granted, it's always been like that for football, like from our parents and stuff, but it wasn't real until it gets taken away.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, man. Like being able to make sure that your identity, and to your point, Kent, like real quick, is that the same thing that you're talking about, guess what? I've seen it because prior to me moving into the athlete space, I worked with a lot of corporate executives. That's how me and Ron got, linked up. He's always connecting me with different people. But corporate executives that have been in their business 20, 30 years, like to take the high of, I am responsible for a multi-billion-dollar company, and I have over 100 people that report to me all the time. Like, dude, you're looking at people from a king's tower. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like you say that you're going to retire because you think you're done. They get into a retirement, man. And then what happens is you start to see a rapid decline because their identity has been locked up in that space for 20, 30, 40 years. And now it's like, okay, I'm done. But there's only so much golf that I can do and so much trips that I can take with my wife on these freaking boats, man. At some point, like I'm a dude that I'm used to being in the thick of it. And now I'm just not. And you start to see that decline unless they find something else, becoming a mentor or, coming to smoke cigars with me. So if anybody's retired and y'all like cigars, holla at your boy, right? But like those type of things is what I'm seeing. And so there's parallels in that, it's parallels in sport, and it's also parallels in military. So it's like, it's interesting that this identity and this lack of purpose permeates across all these different levels in different spaces. And so that's the reason why I push that message. Because right now, like, how many of you guys and girls and ladies have sat down and said, what is my purpose in life? And if that question was asked, you could truly answer it. Like, not know what Mary Poppins said or what somebody else told you, right? Like, you, the individual, like you, Jay, you, like, what is your purpose in life? Like, if you don't know that, then you're just walking around like the Walking Dead. And then my thing is, like, everybody in here was positioned and called with their talent to serve people. So then if you don't know who you are and your purpose, how long do they have to wait and how long do they have to suffer till you get in gear? So like when I look at life from that perspective, Kent, like I barely sleep.
No, that's what I love about it, because when you were talking about, even as a pro athlete, a lot of you guys high level sports,
Yeah.
you probably come across a lot of athletes that, man, you just had a bad break, bad coach, or this, that, or the other, but you could be up there too, right? It's like, there's a lot of athletes that you're an athlete. Same in the business world, where there's a lot of people that they do it, they define success by wealth or wherever they go, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of journeys out there where people may have taken a different path, but they're still really good. They're good at something, but they don't have to be good at everything. And that's kind of where I just think your message is powerful, because it's something that I go through. I went through it, and luckily I had him as a shoulder. You know, Ken, you as well. You've been like really big instrumental to myself. And, you know, because the way you talk about other people, it's like, you know what, that's why I like to talk about other people, because to your point, you do the same thing when you get there. It's like, man, no one's there with you. It's servant leadership, and nobody wants to talk about themselves. It sucks, because there's a little bit of insecurity of like, did I make it because it was just luck, or was, you know, it's what you got. But I like this group here, and I just had an epiphany moment when you were talking today about when somebody says, what is athlete's touch? So I was even driving down here with Bob talking about really the power of this meeting. And I think you nailed it today, because it's the parallel business, sport, doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
As a good person, if you have a selfless individual thing where you want to help other people,
Yeah.
and you're open to learn all the time, I think that's what it is. It's what athlete's touch is.
Yeah.
Your story was really cool, because I went through it myself. So,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next meeting is May 21st. We didn't RSVP for this. If you would, please still do that, so we have your email address. But awesome, great seeing you all. Oh yes, thank you. So triple play, in between each of these monthly meetings, something called triple play, basically lunch, drinks, whatever you want it to be, but a meetup of about 3 or so members. And the idea is that, you know, you can kind of start getting to know one another on a bit of a deeper level in between those meetings. And again, it makes it much more impactful. When you come here, you start to really know every single person in the room well. So look out for those triple plays. It gets sent out. There's going to be one person among the triple play, which is already preordained, that is highlighted. That is the person who is responsible for organizing it. So yeah, just it's an important part of what we're doing here.
Oh man, thank you, brother.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Great job,
Thank you, man. Thank you.